Hey everyone, Happy New Year. The numbers are in for Seychelles for all of 2022. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. In this video, I wanted to give you a quick recap of 2022 so we can understand about where we've landed at the end of the year and give you some ideas going into 2023 of where we see the market and where it may be headed. So I'm going to get right to it. A couple things to help us understand what happened in 2022 last year. This is a chart that from a company called Showing Time that real estate agents and brokers use to schedule showing appointments. If you look at the orange line, which is 2022, you can see that for a lot of the first quarter, we were showing about as much real estate as we were in 2021 and 2020. It's both very, very good years for real estate. Really a big drop-off started by early March, and as interest rates really spiked, you can see that there's just a really big gap of we just weren't showing as much real estate last year. It was kind of a tale of 2 years in real estate. Last year, the first half of the year, the second half of the year. Talk a little bit more about that in a minute. This represents we kind of always get quiet around Thanksgiving, but interestingly, things start to pick up late in the year. This is a showing report from the state of Florida. I wanted to look at what was happening with demand a little bit more. So we dug into what was happening with mortgage applications. The chart you're looking at is from August 5th to January 5th of mortgage applications across the United States. Plenty of condo sales are done with cash, but if we look at what's happening with mortgage applications, we at least get some sense of what's happening in housing in general and demand. So what I found interesting, the gray area by the end of October, this purchase index was at 160.5. It's just how the Mortgage Bankers Association computates all of this. But by the end of the year, it had moved up 12 or 13%. And think about that, with everything that happened in the last 5 or 6 months in real estate, we actually had more demand or signs of more demand happening in the last couple months of the year. One encouraging sign for the market. Looking at the overall Gulf front market last year, again, it's sort of a tale of two halves, which we'll go into in just a second. But if you take the entire year together, just comparing the newer buildings, I want to compare apples to apples with Seychelles. So we had 12% fewer condos that were offered for sale. We had 35% fewer condos that went under contract or a buyer and seller agreeing to buy and sell. 30% fewer closings. Interesting number to pay attention to there. 888 contracts, 949 sales. Part of that's a carryover from contracts that were written in December. This led to 11% less volume, 525 million and some change versus 591 million. But the average sales price was up 27%. This is one way to look at appreciation, and it's a pretty big number. A lot of appreciation, especially early in the year in 2022. If you've watched any of these videos before, you know I'm a huge fan of this chart and what it tells us. Remember, the red line here represents the number of condos for sale. Again, this chart is for the entire Gulf front condo market in the newer buildings. The black line here represents the number of closings. November, December, January, February, March, right in here, we had more closings on Gulf front condos in Panama City Beach than we had condos that were offered for sale. That's how intense the market was. I can't stress that enough, that we took it for granted as the new normal when it was happening, but it was pretty intense to see. April, May, we started to have more and more units for sale. So if you were a buyer, naturally you had more and more choices. Finally, after a year and a half or 2 years of feeling like you were on the other side of it. The black line represents the number of closings. After we spiked in March, fewer and fewer and fewer closings throughout the rest of the year. Supply is going like this. Demand is going like this. One of the best ways to understand that is to look at this months of inventory number. Remember, months of inventory in real estate is a great barometer of the pace of the market. 4 or 5 months of inventory represents a neutral market. The idea being that on average, seller calls real estate office, we get marketing going, arrange for showings, negotiate contracts, get to contract, work through the closing process. The whole process of selling something takes 4 or 5 months on average in a neutral market. And look at where we were in the condo market in January, 0.51, half a month. On average, it was taking us half a month to work through the entire process. That's how intense the market was. And for the first quarter, we were still less than a month. A couple months later, in June, we were still 2 months. Very, very fast, very hot seller's market. That's why you saw the appreciation that you saw. You can see that we've cooled down quite a bit. There's some things happen in seasonality, which is why this sort of spiked. We got down here. I was interested to see what was coming in December because November it spiked so much. 8.2 months of inventory is very much a buyer's market. Like it sounds, it might take 8 months to sell the average condo. The longer we linger in buyer market territory, the more pressure there is on price to push things down. It's a little encouraging that we recovered to 4.26 months of inventory, which is a very balanced market. So at the moment, we'll get to Seychelles specifically next, the moment in the overall Gulf front market, there isn't any massive pressure down. Things should stay about flat on pricing. Looking at Seychelles specifically, this is a really, really good representation of what's happened with appreciation and depreciation just in 1 year. So I have this organized by sold date. One of the 05 units sold for $420,000 January 7th. The next 05 unit sold in February for $500,000. 505 in May, 535 in August. Really good representation of just how much we moved up. And again, I haven't gotten ultra specific there. I know condition and floor height and a lot of those things have a lot to do with sales price, but this still gives you some idea of what happened. Look at the other 1-bedroom floor plan. $400,000 sale early in the year, 425, 403, 427, 446, 495, 482, 500, 500, still fighting that kind of 500 range, back down to 420 and 435. Again, a lot has to do with condition and things like that, but that's a very good representation of kind of what's happened in the market in 2022. Going into 2023, a couple things. Seychelles really continues to be one of the buildings that outperforms the market a little bit. In November, when the market spiked to 8.2, Seychelles was still at 4. If you look what's happened over the last couple of years, pretty much Seychelles has been in a seller's market even at its worst. So that's encouraging. There are only 5 units for sale at the moment, only one 05 unit, and there are no end units. So if you have any of those, you have a little bit of an advantage right now because you can make your own market, so to speak. But not a ton of competition in Seychelles at the moment. 4.2 months of inventory on average for the Gulf front market is a very neutral, flat market. That's encouraging in the sense that I don't see any signs yet of really strong price depreciation. We're going to obsess over the numbers this year and keep you updated month to month to see how the market's going. A few things I see happening that are very, very possible. Plenty of people, for whatever reason, who are going to sell in the spring market don't put their condo up for sale until March or April. I think some of it is it's just cold in a lot of other parts of the country. People aren't thinking about the beach. Hey, it's time to decide to sell. Let's put it up for sale, and they call in March or April. So I could see some additional supply that time of year. Now, depending on the demand, if we get too much supply, that could put pressure for the rest of the year on prices to come down. If you're thinking of selling in 2023, it's a great idea to start sooner rather than later for a couple reasons. The one I just mentioned, you'll get ahead of the competition a little bit. People are shopping for condos now. They know, the experienced condo owner already knows that, hey, let's get the condo purchased. We might have to make some changes, updates, get the marketing placed for rental season. That all takes some time. It also, to do this correctly, to put something up for sale correctly, also can take some time. Sure, you can call an agent and someone can have you on the MLS the next day, but in my opinion, to do it right, professional photography, professional videography on a brilliant weather day. So you've got to line up professional photography, videography schedules, weather, build websites, edit all that, and get it out there can take some time. I can do it 5 to 7 days when everything goes swimmingly. It takes me up to 2 weeks to do it, depending on scheduling sometimes. So there's another reason to sort of start the process to get things right. And remember, if it's taking us about 4 months or so to sell, we've got to get this marketing distributed to people most likely who are not in Panama City Beach. They're somewhere else. So that takes a little bit of time. And if we're concerned about added supply over the next 60 days, if we're concerned about price depreciation at all in housing, then the sooner the better. It is possible that in housing, generally, the highest prices we see in 2023 could be now. Again, I don't see anything in the condo market yet that has strong pricing pressure downward. The 8.2 months of inventory 30 days ago was nerve-wracking, but we've recovered a little bit. So if we can hold that, we could be flat for a little while at least. We would need to get back to 3 months of inventory for a couple months to sort of see price appreciation again. So 11 minutes and 18, 19, 20 seconds. I know that was a lot, but I really wanted to get comprehensive this month. We're going to obsess again over the numbers to keep you updated. So every month we're going to have stuff coming out. Videos will be shorter most of the rest of the year, just kind of monthly updates, but I want to tackle 2022 for you. So hope you found this helpful. Most of you probably are on the list to receive our e-alerts. So anytime something happens in Seychelles, something goes up for sale, changes price, sells, you'll be alerted via email. If you're not and you would like to be in that system, let me know. 850-527-0221 is my number. Just give me a call or shoot me a text. In the meantime, YouTube is a good place to watch all the market updates. I do a lot of different buildings, a lot of different neighborhoods. So if you want to follow that to see how things are a little bit different, it can get pretty interesting to see some buildings hotter than others. So feel free to reach out anytime too. One thing I like to stress, you don't just have to call when you're thinking about buying or selling. I know there's there are going to be a lot of questions on trying to strategize and make decisions for your portfolio, your life, what have you. So if you just have some general questions, don't feel like you can only call when you're considering actually doing something. If you just want to strategize generally, have some questions about some things, welcome to those calls anytime. So hope this helps. We'll talk to you soon.